Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, great Biafrans and lovers of freedom. This is Radio Biafra HAUSA-SERVICE coming to you through Radio Biafra London. My name remains Mazi, Jonathan Chinedu from Olu province of Biafra land, and we are here live and direct. Today is the 23rd day of July 2023. Today being Sunday, Tata Bobo Cheke in our own Igbo calendar. Therefore, without taking any time or any much time, I will therefore hand over the microphone and the platform to our First Lady, Lolo Uchechi Okwu, to take over and speak to Biafrans and humanity. Lolo, please welcome to the program. Over to you, ma.
Thank you, Mazi. Thank you. God bless you. Great people of Biafra, lovers of freedom, it is, as always, a great pleasure to speak to you, to bring to you the voice and message of freedom and encouragement, message of reasoning and of sound mind. First, I say good evening to you from here, good afternoon, and good morning to you, depending on where you are listening from. Without wasting any time, my message today will border around sacrifice, dedication, and loyalty. We know what sacrifice means in this context. I mean where you give up something you value for the sake of other considerations. We know what dedication means, single-mindedness, zeal, commitment, and we know what loyalty means. That is devotion, faithfulness, that is steadfast in the face of any temptation to desert or betray the adherence to a person or a cause. You know, yesterday I attended the AGM held in Swindon here in the UK with our brothers and sisters. That was over Zoom. I made mention of their tenacity, your dedication and sacrifice. I want to commend you all. I want to specifically appreciate IPOBians in Biafra land. I don't think I have specially appreciated our brothers and sisters in Biafra land, but today permit me to do that. Without your tenacity in upholding the forefront of this movement in our land, there will be no movement. In essence, what we are fighting for will be established in Biafra land. So your immense contribution to the struggle, both financially and otherwise, especially the principal officers back home who have lost their businesses, lost their homes as a result of their commitment to the struggle. I say well done. And I pray that Chukwu Okike will, because of what we are passing through, the injustice and hatred being meted upon us, will hearken to our cry and give us Biafra. He say, please, Biafrans back home, freedom fighting does not entail criminality. I would like to use this very moment to speak on this criminality going on in our land. There is no country getting under criminality. I don't know if there is any. Please let me know. In fact, there is nothing under the face of a sun getting under criminality that will ever be sustained, nor stand, nor succeed. IPOB under the leadership of Mazi Nnamdi does not and have never indulged in terrorism and criminality. So any IPOB member who is involved in any criminal act should know that they are outside of IPOB umbrella. And they are among the principalities and powers against the IPOB movement. When I talk about sacrifice, dedication, and loyalty, you must know that these two now and one of the adjectives are the ingredients that we use to stand against principalities and powers. So if you are fighting in criminality and terrorism, you are outside of IPOB umbrella. And you, yes, you are not a freedom fighter. The one that breaks my heart is that you do not sit and think about the anguish or the pain that the offsprings of Nnamdi Kanu are going through, where you go and commit heinous crimes. You mention the name of Nnamdi Kanu whilst committing these crimes. Today, you must know that what you're doing, calling in Nnamdi Kanu's name whilst you commit heinous crimes, is endangering his life and prolonging his stay. So when you allow someone to use the love you have for Nnamdi Kanu to distract you, to misdirect you, and tell you that they're fighting for Nnamdi Kanu, you are not. Because Nnamdi Kanu has said that he wants Biafra land to remain calm. So if you really love Nnamdi Kanu, what you will do is to listen to him and follow his steps and follow the steps of those whom he has kept to spearhead this movement in his absence. I wonder how someone will believe that diverting trailer loads of rice, fertilizers and cement and killing the innocent drivers who will get us Biafra. I don't know who told you that. You are thieving, you're a thief. If that is what you're doing, that is not Biafra that you're fighting for. Kidnapping and killing our people. How will that get us Biafra? If you can lay down the intricacies of how that can get us Biafra, perhaps we might look at it once again. But you need to explain how that will bring us Biafra. Freedom fighters do not raise arms against their own, or the gods of the land, I promise you, will come after you. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has said that in the past, that anytime you kill your own, Biafra will not come. Because blood opens the door to a lot of things, and you have to be careful whose blood you're shedding. Please allow our sisters and brothers, I beg of you, allow our mothers and fathers and children to breathe. We're suffering, we have enough that we're going through under the hands of a Fulani. So you cannot make our home where we should run to for solace hostile. Have you imagined? Have you sat down and imagined? Have you sat down and pondered the hatred Biafrans are going through in Nigeria? Have you wondered what we go through in Nigeria? Our businesses are being destroyed in all parts of Nigeria. The hatred is so dark that to register an Igbo name as an organization is hell. That line of government will shamelessly encourage you to register your business or import your goods with a Yoruba or Hausa name. How dare they? They are working assiduously to systematically extinguish the name Igbo. But these principalities are foolishly supporting the government's agenda by killing our own people and making our environment hostile. This hostility spans through locally and internationally because you don't expect investors to invest in any area where there is hostility and terrorism. Do you people actually think? Our brothers whom their goods were destroyed and shops demolished in Lagos, Ladikbo, Lalaba International and other parts of the country. They would look towards home. They will look towards home, but how do you expect them to come home? How do you expect them to come and invest? Think about that. Therefore, and we will continue to disassociate Nnamdi Kanu's name from the atrocities committed by these principalities. We will. It's a promise. We will never stop. What we are doing is unrivaled. What IPOB under Nnamdi Kanu, under the leadership of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is doing is unprecedented in the history of freedom quest or the quest of self-determination. They have never seen a thing like this. They have never seen anything, and a race as special as the Biafrans rising, coming together. Do you know what that means? Do you know what that means? There is a voice in the wilderness now. If you put your ears down, you will hear the Pan-Africanists singing the revolutionary unionism of Africa. And IPOB, we must be amongst the protagonists of that very train. We are dedicated, loyal, and have sacrificed so much from deeper parts of our hearts to the deeper parts of our physical endeavors. I would like us to take 1 minute silence to for our fallen heroes, our fallen brothers and sisters. Thank you. I hardly sleep at night as I think about the families left behind by our fallen brothers and sisters. Some of you are not by the side. You don't know what it is to lose your loved ones. There is a difference that now your loved one was ill and then fell. Go to the other side of the world. There is a difference between that and that your brother or your sister fell in the line of duty, in the line of struggle, or just by a straight bullet. That is more painful. Onwike is very painful. So when I think about the families left behind by these brothers and sisters of ours who sacrificed their lives for us to continue in our quest for freedom, I hardly sleep. Some years ago, I started to extend a hand of help to a few widows who lost their husbands in Biafra land in my own little way, just by myself. And I had a plan to help every one of them to start up a business, start up something small to at least help them to feed their children. But then something happened and I stopped working. Because some of you think I just sit down, I work. Like 5 a.m. I wake up in the cold when it's dark. I work. I drop my little one at school and I zoom off to work. And after work, I pick him from aftercare and we go home, we do things. So I am busy. Or I used to be very, very busy until I became very ill. So I had to stop work. But that project has not changed. I still have in mind to make sure that these women will get something they can start doing. Because I use myself as an example. So imagine the people whose husbands are never ever going to return home. What is there for them? So as soon as I resume work, that project will resume. As soon as I get well and return to work, I will resume that project. But I want to use this medium to ask us to always extend a hand of help to widows, especially the ones back home. Because even in my pain, I feel the pains of people. Because I am an empath, so I feed off people. I can feel the pains of people. Apart from 1 minute silence that we give to our fallen brothers and sisters, there is another way we can honor our fallen brothers and sisters. Of course, I know that IPOB has been doing their best to look after our own. But I would like individuals to pick up some of these burdens as a weekly offering and monthly tithe and monthly tithe offerings. Let these be your tithe offerings, and God will bless you. But this is who we are anyway. We look after our own. We help our own. Hence, we want a better system where there will be a channel for people in such situations to be catered for. You go, and the government will have a plan, a scheme for certain people, widows, people whose husband fell in the war, people, the veterans. There is a channel. There will be a channel for children. Here, children are giving how much every week? No matter how little it is, if it is worth 1,000 naira every week, it is something for the government, for the people to remember. And this is why we are here, fighting every principality. Having given up the things we value in life, that is the sacrifice. We dedicate and stay loyal to the objective of this very cause. And IPOB, under the leadership of Mazi Nnamdi, is fighting a just cause. IPOB is fighting a great war. You know, there is a difference between the steps you take to achieve a goal and the goal achieved. When you achieve a goal, the goal will be seen. But not much of the steps taken to achieve that goal will be seen. People, the pain you go through, when you ask to come to a place and you're there, no one actually wants to know how you suffered. Sometimes your vehicle could stop on the way or something would happen, but you were there. So all the tribulations or trials you faced on that road to get to where you were supposed to be, nobody sees it. All everyone knows is that you're there. So I said to our brothers and sisters in Swindon yesterday that it is possible for us to sit today, the 23rd of July 2023, as IPOB members, because of the work IPOB leadership and other arms of the movement have done. These principalities and powers worked so hard to include IPOB in the World Terrorist Index. Do you know the painful steps taken by the IPOB leadership to avert that mayhem that would have befallen us? I got on today. Before I proceed, why do you think that after these years, these principalities and power quickly added IPOB to their so-called World Terrorist Index? Why do you think so? They are afraid. It is because they thought they would succeed with the bits, the tiny 5 naira rubbish the infiltrators are doing. They commit here and there, and they think, oh, that's enough. Let's hang them. Let's place them on that World Terrorist Index. When you saw that IPOB had been added to the World Terrorist Index, world, not wall. Sometimes when you say wall, you might think now I say wall or a holo. It's not a holo. It is owa. Proper world. When you saw that this happened, how many people countered it? I nearly had a heart attack. I said, Did you see the infiltrators kick against it? Did you see anybody come and join the IPOB leadership to say, no, we are not a terrorist organization. We are freedom fighters. We are seeking for the independence of our people via referendum. How many of them wrote? They stayed back and they watched, waiting for IPOB to collapse. IPOB went into war, understanding the principalities and power on beast mode. If you notice, I don't say powers, at least not yet. I am not using the word powers. I'm using just power. When I say principalities and power, I use power because I mean Britain. Britain, England, UK, and I'm coming to that. The principalities are the Nigerian government and all the infiltrators. You must also know that these infiltrators, they have different factions. They might be principalities anyway, different factions of principalities anyway, the level by level. There is a faction of the ones you call the automated minions. You have the faction of the slimy ones who are unhappy for one reason or another. The faction of the faceless that hide behind masks, which also incorporates fallen angels from the inception of this movement. I see you all. And then there's the faction of the one Nigerianists. This is what IPOB is fighting. These are the principalities that IPOB leadership is fighting. If IPOB did not switch on her own beast mode and counter these principalities and power, every one of us would not be here today. All the sacrifice and dedication poured into this movement would have been for nothing. That would have been the end. That is when you would have known that these powers in the high places actually know everything about IPOB. If you notice, I use powers, and by that I mean the EU, the AU, the United Nations, the British monarch, and the United States, and their arms of poison, which they call media, which they use to brand and spread lies. They come, they sow a seed of discord, and they use the one nearest to you, and they poison their hearts, and they push them to come after you, and you fight, you go into war. This is exactly what you see with Russia and Ukraine. They're coming from Ukraine, pushing Ukraine. That is what you see going on today. That is what they do. And then they spread their lies all over the place. They went as far as restricting my movement as Nnamdi's wife to some countries. I've had to call some of the countries. Why am I being restricted? Some say you need to tell us what year how long you've been married to Nnamdi. I have been, my movement to some certain countries have been restricted. But how would you know that? You wouldn't. But I thought I should mention that here today. In fact, I dug into my archive last night and found a couple of correspondences I had with a renowned professor and human rights lawyer in the Netherlands regarding representing my husband in Europe and all the steps taken to bring Nigeria to ICC in 2015 and 2016. I have absolutely forgotten that I was involved in that very, very movement. That was the first time IPOB took Nigeria to ICC. Have you heard anything else since then? And we've been taking them since then. Have they said anything? Nothing. They have said nothing. Currently, they behave as though they are oblivious of our existence. Regardless what we say, do, I have correspondences from MPs, my MP, our MP, is the same thing. It is the same thing. The foreign secretary, the case handler of my husband, he says the same thing. They say the same thing. Our conny system. Are you okay? As if they have a solution for you. They have none. Oh, there is nothing much we can do. This is the way we can go about it. But IPOB is not letting them sleep. And I want to thank the UK chapter. You keep doing your work. One day, in fact, it's already yielding. It's yielding fruits. So currently they behave as if we are oblivious, or they are oblivious of our existence. We don't exist. They know nothing about us. They pretend that they don't see anything. They see everything we do. But as Mazi Nnamdi said, if we do not do what we are doing today, if we do not do what we are doing now, they will say we rushed into war. That is why we are taking this long step, known by law. As you can see, we are in court with them and we are winning. Buhari, when asked, said, yes, there could be political resolution or whatever, but the law has to take its course. And then Nnamdi Kanu has to come to court. Nnamdi Kanu came to court, and then Nnamdi Kanu has been winning since then. So, the answer is Britain. The answer is Britain. Had IPOB been banded in the same sphere as Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Boko Haram, and the rest of them, you will be shocked by how much they know about us. That is when CNN will sneak out from their invisible radar to spew absolute hoax. That is when Sky News will remember to carry our news, and heavens be damned if they forget to tag the leader of the group. Which is their plan. That is what they want to do. Get the infiltrators, let them commit mayhem and unleash terror on our people, and then they say, yeah, these people are terrorists, and that is why their leader is where he is. They want to extinguish us from the face of the earth. They want to obliterate us. Bunch of evil, twisted living beings. That is how they work. A little bit pointer on how they work. They will send the infiltrators, then they sit on the fence and look in the trees and pretend like, okay, what is going on in that place? We don't actually know. But they are the instigators, they are the provocateurs of the very event going on. Then click. They will use their media and nap you in the corner and give you a brand new name. I remember during my master's degree program, I had lots of Libyans in my department. They were all under the care of the Gaddafi government. They were all under the scholarship of the government. They were well taken care of by the government. And some of them really, I had one. She was working in their disaster recovery department, and we had a conversation. And she told me why she was sent to come and get a course, and so she can specialize in disaster recovery in Libya, in anticipation for natural disasters like earthquakes and the rest of them. And she told me good things about her government, because we know how we know how the government was infiltrated, and what was on the news was that he was shot by a young boy who was a member of a rebel group. Really? And that people was very happy that he died. When a lot of people I had in my department were sad, they were heartbroken. And eventually some of them stopped coming because there was no government to sponsor their education anymore. But I trust IPOB media, who understands the way they operate and will always win wars against all these media outlets. Nnamdi Kanu prepared his media arms, and they understand the way these powers and principalities work. And they always win. I also recall the interview I had in 2021. That was in July. I can't pick the date right now in my head. By the Times UK, after my husband was renditioned. The title of the interview was "Wife of Biafran Rebel Leader Takes Cover in North England." That was very displeasing to me because I know my husband is the protagonist of IPOB and not a rebel. And the only character they could liken him to was Robin Hood. Jokers! Robin Hood. You liking Nnamdi Kanu to Robin Hood of Nottingham. Take another rebranding pattern by these powers. When you hear of Benin massacre, what do you think happened? I want to try and not take too much of our time. Britain will disrespect and disregard you with impunity and hope that you show no reaction whatsoever. They rebrand their act of provocation upon the Benin Kingdom and rebranded it as Benin Massacre. I think we all know the story, and that probably will be for another day. Another way of getting to you is by getting those very close to you. If I recall the Ndongan king, how the Portuguese hired some Imbangalans. Imbangalas, they call Imbangalas. They were the tribe, the warrior tribe of Ndongo. Ndongo is now I think we call it Angola. So the Portuguese, during the slave trade, kept taking and taking. They like to take. They like to take. Sit on you. You must not move around. If you move around, then there's a problem. Is the audacity for me. So they hired some Impangalas as mercenaries, and the new threat, that very threat, forced the Ndongan king to give up any attempts to reconquer his lost territories of Ndongo. This is just to point to you how they operate. They will use the person within or near your territory to try to subjugate you. Now, talk about the Aburi Accord. I will try to round up in the next few minutes as people's attention span starts to diminish after 30 minutes, and some people don't remember most of the things you say after 30 minutes. I've picked that up at some point. Our eternal father, Ojukwu, and the three other head of states toasted to their reconciliation and agreement with champagne. I'm just using the final the summary. They toasted to the agreement with champagne. Remember, they all had to travel to Aburi, and that is in Ghana, due to the tension that brewed after the counter coup. Just that meeting, only attending that meeting meant a lot. It meant that every party present in that party, in that very meeting, wanted a solution to the imminent tension. Ojukwu meant business as he went with a strong team of legal, political, economic advisors, secretaries, and realms of papers, because he knew he meant business. So, and I also believe that the leaders who attended that very meeting also understood what they were there for. And they toasted to their agreement. Now, not only did the other leaders agree with Ojukwu that the regions and peoples of the nation first draw apart, which is free federalism. He practices but they also agreed to Ojukwu's point that whoever was at the top would only be a titular head. So the person sits as a titular head, but the person will only act when all the four regions have met and taken a unanimous decision. Now, why do you think that they stayed 2 days? They spent 2 days deliberating in meetings, and after reaching an agreement, someone decides to break it. How do you think that happened? That would cause the dissolution of Nigeria. That will bring apart. How can you love Nigeria more than your own country? So, how did that come about? That was Britain. That was when principalities and powers whispered to go on. They whispered to go on. And that was how the Aburi Accord failed. Britain, being the power, came in and disorganized the agreement using their principalities who were within. You know the rest. And since then, any strong voice from the Biafra region that speaks for the betterment and freedom of the people must face these principalities created by Nigeria and Britain. We had such principality in 2015, where a principality stationed his devilish friend, who put his political ambition above my husband's health and life, under the guise of representing my husband on pro bono. The full details of what happened is narrated. I narrated that in my book. You might be wondering, what book? What is this book is she talking about? Yes. When I visited my husband in the DSS, and we talked about how everything I am doing has come to a halt, which is my work, my businesses, and my charity organization, and the difficulties myself, his sons, are going through as a family in his absence. The difficulties the little one has to deal with in school because of his father's absence. My social life, because as a wife of a freedom fighter, I will not go to just anywhere. I will not speak to just anyone because there are enemies unknown. Those of you on the social media, have you seen the insults and lies going on social media about me? I'm not on social media, but I do get told. I have relatives on social media. But it doesn't bother me. I see those people as people who are below the belly of the snake. And that means the lowest of the lows. When someone is below the belly of the snake, the person is lower, is the lowest of the lows, lower than them all. Because 100% of these people know nothing about me, and 97% of them have never set their eyes on me. So when you indulge in talking about someone you know nothing about and insulting that person who did nothing to you, you are a dundee. Dundee. My father was a who is and to be honest with you, that does not bother me because I don't do that. And as my husband most times will say, I know you don't like that. I know you don't like that. It will done that to me. He knows I can't be bothered because the frequency that I operate in is far above your limit. So I really won't blame you if you look at me and you think, oh my God, I don't believe there's such person in this world. Let me drag her into the gutter where you and your fellow pigs are playing with delight. But believe you me, I won't get in there with you because I don't do dirt. I don't do dirt. Another lie that I need to debunk here is that our little son won the sum of $500,000, the sum of $500,000. I saw a particular in fact, it was my husband's uncle. The wife sent it to me. His uncle's wife sent it to me, and I said, "See, I've seen this." Said this one is different. This one is different. And this one has $500,000. The other one was 5,000, and this one has that became the picture. I'm like, are you serious? So I looked at it and I still ignored it. Anyway, I don't have time. I've been very ill. I got a few phone calls, which had to explain, telling these people that the news is a hoax. Is a hoax. It's not true. It is not true. Our little son did not win any $500,000 US. It's not true. People who are not true media were talking about it, and the wicked thing about this lie is that was the time the financial burden of my medical treatment became very critical. A few people asked me during the 30th of May, and I was surprised. I'm like, it's very serious. I don't take it seriously, but people are really asking. So it means some people believe that Nnamdi Kanu's son won $500,000 US. That is a hoax from the pit of hell. I don't know where that came from, but that was propagated to hinder, I believe, to hinder me from getting any financial help or anywhere. I don't know what the reason is, but I'm trying to put one and two together. I don't get it. These are some of the principalities that I deal with as a wife of a freedom fighter. This is the principality that I deal with as a wife of the Kanu. The sacrifices that I have made and still making. So in all these, my husband suggested to me, and he said, I mean, when we were talking about the difficulties we're facing as family, he suggested to me, you've always wanted to write it. Why don't you write a book? And I said, okay. And I started. This book is an X-ray of my life. It is an X-ray of my life as the wife of a freedom fighter. True life story. From the very first day Nnamdi Kanu set his eyes on me till date. It is a book with names, locations, evidences, and details of all the events that occurred around me as the wife of the freedom of Nnamdi Kanu, the freedom fighter. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Biafrans. The book is on 80% completion, and I promise you, it will be a bomb. So strap your seatbelt and wait for that book. So many things that you do not know about and will never know will be made known to you in that book. Wait for it. Sorry, I had to digress. I had to just digress to that very point anyway. So going back to the principalities of 2015, where a supposed counsel who was supposed to defend my husband was rather using my husband to cash out and climb his political ladder. I had had to take the bull by the horn. I nearly lost my son then. I was going into 8 months. That was the last trimester. Because of the stress. Because of the pain I went through then. I would vomit every day from the day I conceived till the day I put to bed. I would vomit every day. I will slide out on the floor for at least 1 hour. I will be unconscious. Every morning I will be unconscious. And after an hour or so, sometimes 45 minutes, I will regain consciousness, and then I will stand up and start to fight for my husband. I had to take the bull by the horn, and that was what gave birth to Barrister Ifeanyi Ejiofor you see today. And you all saw what he did then and what he is still doing. I mean, what I brought him in then for, he did. So my husband, our leader, Nnamdi left him and loved what he did and worked with him and continued to work with him and gave him a different contract, I think. And both of them they've been working together since then. I just did my job then to make sure that my husband stayed alive. Because this very person, I have this narrated in my book, this very person, this very counsel would sit in front of the, what is it called, the media, without having done any work. Every work, every filing done in the magistrate court was done by my father. And because some of us don't talk doesn't mean that, in fact, when people don't actually tell their own part of the story, you should be afraid. Because in Maika Hasikwado. Let me not dip in too much into that. I want to encourage every one of us, the principal officers, the leadership, and the Biafrans at large, do not be discouraged whenever you are faced with these principalities, because they will always attack you whenever you're doing the right thing or in the right direction of this movement. Nobody knows that I have been very sick, very, very sick. Even though the leadership are aware, but none of you know that I've been very sick. Nobody knows. And I have been undergoing some surgeries. And currently I'm still on treatment, regardless. Regardless my state of health, I had to arrange for doctors from my sickbed for my husband. And I'm glad to tell Biafrans that his medical investigations have begun. And I'm sure you already know that. At this point, I have to appreciate my PA, Chioma. She has been more than a PA to me. She's been a sister to me. When no relation, no sister, no brother, no friend, no husband was to see me through this life-threatening surgery. She was there for me. She had to come. Because according to the medical law, I cannot undergo that important procedure because I need an adult. There must be an adult with me. So by the time I returned to the land of living, this happened on the 4th. By by the time I returned to the land of the living, she had already collected my little boy from school. In fact, I had some medical procedures that I had to go back on my feet. Some medical procedures that I had before that very one I had on the 4th. I had to go, but no one to take me home, no one to pick Nnamdi came from school. I have to get up and walk slowly from the very procedure to his school to pick him up from school. And I will be walking slowly. You imagine all eyes on me, and everyone will be wondering, why is she walking that slowly? The penultimate surgery, which is the second to the last surgery I had, was on the 22nd of June, 2023. The medical procedure failed. In fact, after some trials, it failed. And I was in severe pains. But whilst I was on the recovery bed, I was watching the appeal court proceedings in the UK. The appeal court proceedings for my husband in the UK. I was on the failed surgery recovery bed, and I was watching it. So this time around, because no one can come, nobody. Chioma had to come for the last surgery as they refused me being alone. This happened 4 days before the Finland rally. And as duty called, I had to obey. I had to obey the voice of IPOB and disobey the voice of my medical doctor who told me, do not speak on top of your voice. You're still very faint. You need to, don't do anything, don't walk, don't drive, don't do this, don't sit down for long, do not do any strenuous movement. But guess what? The day after the surgery, I am left with no choice than to take my little one to school, still in pains after Chioma had left. I had to drive. I was told don't drive, but I had to. Who would? Don't walk to, I had to, because nobody would do it for me. Chioma, I want to thank you. I can't thank you enough. But please, you need to activate my social media handles. In fact, as we speak, I need you to begin to activate my social media handles. We are going back to social media. So ask yourself, when you cast aspersions and insult the movement and the leadership, what sacrifice are you making? Every one of us has one thing or another that we're sacrificing. But when you cast aspersions, what sacrifice are you making? Ask yourself that question. Probably your data and your returns from your paymasters, and you use your data to call names. Those name callings, they mean nothing. I see them, I call them ad hominems. You have ad hominem, you have ad hominem fallacy. And when you are in that mode, your frontal lobe is dormant, doesn't work. And because you're pugnacious, impetuous, and impertinent, your actions and behavior depicts insanity like you. You can't reason. You're running around like Once again, I want to appreciate all Biafrans all over the world. The principal officers, the leadership, and Omakukwani. Speaking of Omakukwani, please, DOS and Biafrans back home. I have a worry that we are accepting the fact that our children cannot study history in school, can't learn anything, don't know anything about our history. Let us all rise up to make sure that Igbo language and the history studies are being taught in schools. Our petitions or whatever, let's start to write. Because if you put your ears to the ground, you will notice that Africa is beginning to raise her voice. Africa is rising. There is a sound of revolutionary union for Africa by Pan-Africanists. And we know that Mazi Nnamdi is a Pan-Africanist. And we must be among the protagonists of this new song. I, for one, I am a lover of sound mind and of sound reasoning. So our children must be trained in that line to stand against principalities and powers in the future, to reason rationally and not emotionally. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. It's a pleasure. I really appreciate you all. And I thank you for this very honor. May Chukwu Okike Abịama, onye nke pụrụ ime ihe niile, bless and protect you all. Ise, Ise, Biafra, and this is where we worship. From me, from here, it is good evening.